Okay, so now that we've talked about, in a general way, about the expectations of the course and the policies, let's turn it more specifically to the schedule and to some of the due dates that you'll want to keep in mind. First off, you'll see that in the syllabus, the subject areas are the same ones that are listed in the table of contents on your Blackboard site. Throughout the course, what I'll do is release the content for each of these subject areas on Thursday mornings, and then the work associated with that content area will be due the following Wednesday by midnight. It's really important to keep in mind these due dates. They're all listed here on the syllabus already, because once the due date for the content area is passed, you're not going to be able to work on that stuff anymore. It's going to disappear from the website, with the exception of the discussion boards. I'll leave those for you to be able to look at later, but you won't be able to work on them after the due date. So be very careful about making sure that you're checking in at least once a week to do the work for that week. The exception, there is one exception, and that is the due dates for the paper assignments. The two papers will be assigned through the content areas, but then they're due generally about 2 weeks after they're assigned, and you'll be doing that outside the Blackboard website, so you'll have to pay attention to those due dates. In addition to the work that's going to appear and be assigned through the content areas, you'll also need to complete 2 entries in our news policy blogs. And you're not going to see that in the content areas. You're not going to be prompted to do that. You'll have to go separately to the blog content area, and you'll see that at the bottom of the table of contents in your Blackboard site. Okay, and let me know if any of that's not clear. You'll see as you look at it, you'll see what I mean. Okay, so let's look at the first part of the course. The course is divided into 3 parts. The first part is generally about the framework and the values of our governing system. The second part has to do with political participation, and also in that section you'll see social policy and economic policy, and so public opinion. And the third part of the course, the 3 branches. So that's a very quick overview, but let me go back a little bit. Okay, so part 1, the first real content is going to be available this coming Thursday, August 25th, and you'll see some work associated with the Constitution chapter, and that work's going to be due August 31st. We'll also, in this section of the course, talk about federalism, and by the end of this, you'll definitely know what federalism is and what some of the debates are around federalism. We'll also, in this section of the course, talk about equal rights and civil liberties. And I also want to point out, with regard to equal rights, I've asked you to read a chapter in the main textbook. So if you see APT, that's the main textbook, American Politics Today. If you see RAP, that's Readings in American Politics, that's the other textbook. So with civil rights or equal rights, I'll ask you to read a little, or browse really, Shelby County versus Holder, which is the text of a Supreme Court case about the Voting Rights Act. And that's going to be important for an event that's happening on campus September 16th, Constitution Day. We'll have a presentation about a case called Bethune-Hill versus Virginia State Board of Elections. This is a case before the Supreme Court this term, and about drawing election maps. And the Thomas Jefferson School of Law moot court team is going to come and give kind of a dramatization of the case for us, and you're welcome to attend that event. Now, the first paper assignment is due September 28th, And you'll see that during this week, September 22nd and 28th, there's no reading for this week. I want you to focus on getting the paper done, and you'll also have your first exam will be due during that week, so you can complete that whenever you'd like. Okay, so that's the first part of the course. Your first writing assignment will be based on these two readings right here, Kennedy and Stevens. So if you wanted to go ahead and start looking at those, you could do that. And again, that's due September 28th, first paper assignment. Okay, second part of the course, organized in a very similar way. You'll see the date that the content will be available, and then the date that the work is due, public opinion, parties, interest groups, and also economic policy and social policy. And there's the date for exam 2. There's a lot of material in this section of the course, so there'll be a lot to place on exam 2, but there's no writing assignment in this section of the course. October 19th, we will have on campus a presentation. I'll lead an informational session about the initiatives on the November ballot. So it'll be a shorthand way of coming and learning about what is going to be on the ballot without having to read that thick book we're going to be getting in the mail pretty soon. You're welcome to attend that if you like. Okay, and there's the withdrawal date. All right. So the third part of the course, 3 branches. We'll talk about the legislative branch, lawmaking process, the presidency. There'll be Thanksgiving, and we'll also discuss foreign policy during that section of the course. And your second writing assignment is due here November 30th, and that's going to be about these readings right here. So you can go ahead and think about that a little bit if you want to. And the last week of the course, 8th through the 16th, you'll see there's no reading for that week. You'll be focusing on exam 3. And during that week also, if you choose to do the final exam, the optional paper assignment, those will be due that week as well. All right, let me know if you do have any questions as we move along.